From the fantasy armchair, it is the Fantasy TyRant. Hey there, fellow fantasy football freaks. Welcome back to the fantasy armchair. Wow, this week's waiver wire video, within 24 hours, became my most viewed video ever. Must have been a good one. Looks like you guys loved it. Hey, thanks a lot. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It needs a few more likes because I gotta get like 10% likes. So if you haven't seen it or you have seen it and didn't give it a like, go ahead. It's floating up there right now. Click on it, like it. Come back to this one or go there after you're done with this video. I appreciate it. All your support and everything, that's what's making this show blow up. And it's happening, folks. It's happening. The reign of the tyrant is nearly upon us. And you will all benefit with championships aplenty. I mean, I went up 27 subscribers in one day. Holy bejesus. But that's no reason to stop. We're not at the 300 goal yet. We probably will make it by the end of the month. But if we can make it by the end of the week, I'm going to put a little something more on top of that, alright? Not only am I going to do something cool for you in October, on top of that, I got a little bonus I'm going to put on that as well. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You're going to have to find out. But I promise, you're going to love it. Thanks again so much for your support. If you want a pocket guru that you can talk to one-on-one and get one-on-one advice every week, help you set your lineup, pick up guys, whatever you want, check out my Patreon as well. Pretty good deal there. Alright, now enough of all that garbage. It's Wildcard Wednesday, and this week I'm bringing back an oldie but a goodie. It's been a while since I've done a buy and sell, but it's one of the shows I started with and helped put me on the map. So I'm bringing back the old white shirt, and I'm dusting off the soundboard because it's time for the segment that'll help you all make mad money. That's right, it's the return of Buy and Sell. Welcome everyone to Buy and Sell! This show, I'm going to tell you which players I'm going to buy.
Buy.
And which players I want to sell.
Sell.
It's that simple. I'm going to give you one of each at each position, plus some honorable mentions. Lucky you. But first, let's start off with my buy at running back this week, Saquon Barkley. Yes, last week I said I was freaking out about Saquon's production. And while I still think that he's worthy of concern and that he's definitely on a downhill season, he did show that he trusts that knee just a little bit more this past week. He still didn't have a great game, but I think game script had a lot to do with that. Saquon is not holding back though, and they've stopped treating him with kid gloves. This week, I think he's going to be trusted more with carries, and then he's going to open that door to fantasy production. He'll be putting up RB2 numbers at least against that weak-ass Falcons team. They're worse against the pass, that's true, but they can definitely be had in the run game. If you don't get him this week, you might not be able to get him next week, so get him now. Don't pay a premium price for him, but if you can get him for an overachieving RB3 like, let's say Cordell Patterson or Damian Harris, do it. Now you might need a package in a guy from the bench to sweeten the deal, but it'll be worth it. So get him now while his stock is low before it starts to skyrocket. I also like Antonio Gibson. Right now, I think he's the lowest price point that he's going to be all season. And all you would need to do is give up a player about the same as what you give up for Saquon. You might wait a week since he has the Bills this week and could have another bad game, and that might make his value drop even lower, and you can get him for cheaper. It could be bargain basement low next week if that happens. But if he steps things up, you're going to let him pass you by. And I think it's a good time to buy the tips. Alvin Kamara and Jonathan Taylor can be had at a low price right now. The lowest price you're ever going to get those two studs. So if you have some pieces to move around, like go back to that Patterson and Harris thing, or a low-end running back or wide receiver coming off a great week, like J.D. McKissick or Henry Ruggs, you can make either of those happen, so hop to it. Those are the running backs I'm buying this week. And here's the running backs I'm selling. Listen, don't do this unless you're already stacked at running back. And you better be able to get a king's ransom for this one. But I guarantee you, Aaron Jones doesn't have a better game in him this season. Week 2 was the one, and you should capitalize on it. His value is now at a mountain's peak. So if you can get like Alvin Kamara and DK Metcalf in exchange for like Aaron Jones and say Sterling Shepard, oh yeah, do it. But only a boon like that is going to be worthy of giving up Aaron Jones. Because in the first half of the season, he's going to be a stud. Just not too studly to get a couple of studs in return for him. And then later, when you really want to trade him, when he's got a more brutal schedule, like Bears, the Rams, the Ravens, a couple meetings with the Vikings, the Browns, do it before his value drops and that train has left the station. Some others that you should trade now at peak value are both Patriots running backs. Both Damian Harris and James White are RB3s at best, but they've been putting up RB2 points the last couple weeks, so I don't see their stock getting any higher. It's time to sell high before that stock drops. Might be a good time to ship them out and get one of those RBs I was talking about earlier. Pair them up with the bench guy coming off a good week, like Patterson or Cephas. You could definitely get this done, but you better bail on them now before their fantasy value drowns. Now let's move on to wide receivers. I talked about this guy earlier, and he's definitely had a less than stellar first couple weeks. DK Metcalf is a dude that a lot of owners are willing to let go for lower than MSRP. The guy's a stud Mustang, and he's going to return to that form sooner or later, likely this week against the Vikings. Despite having a slew of better defensive backs, the Vikings have given up the third most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers this season so far. So this is someone you want to get right away. You could do it. Just package someone like Marvin Jones or Sterling Shepard, Patterson, someone like that with another bench guy, and I think that you can make this happen. Go get Metcalf in a 2-for-1. Hopefully the owner doesn't know what they're doing and they'll let him go. You might have to pay up a little bit more, but it's worth it. But low bone, take a shot. You might be surprised. Try to tell him like Lockett's the guy there, that Metcalf is going to be forgotten in that offense. Some bullshit like that. You might get the owner to bite. But do it now, because that door is shutting after this week. A couple of others I'm buying. AJ Brown may not catch up to his production from last season, but he's going to do a lot better than he has the last couple weeks. I'll tell you that. He's getting plenty of targets, just under 10 a game. And sooner or later, those are going to turn into catches, touchdowns, and fantasy points for you. If you're able to pick him up, that is. Unfortunately for him, his first 2 games of the season were against the Cardinals and the Seahawks. 2 birds in the NFC West who have incredible defenses. So go get AJ Brown now while his owners are still nervous. And Chase Claypool is another wide receiver who was a star last year, but has started off with a couple of mediocre games. But these are against stud defenses. I wouldn't worry too much. I think Big Ben's going to be a go because he's always a go. Dude's tough as nails. And even if he's not 100%, he can still get the ball to Claypool. And I think with Deontay Johnson hobbled, Claypool becomes the top target this week. And he's practically free to trade for. He's my bargain basement player this week. So you can like throw him in as a part of another trade, or just trade him straight up for peanuts. Well, get him now before you miss out. So who am I looking to sell high? The guy who plays on the other side of the ball for Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. No, I haven't gone insane. I've been there for a long time. I just think there's no way that Lockett maintains his production and stays a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. It's just not sustainable. He's got 1 less target than Metcalf after 2 weeks. He's getting lucky on those big touchdowns, but I think that's going to regress as time goes on. I think it's obvious that Metcalf is the better athlete and the better talent. And it's only a matter of time those numbers come right back up. I mean, I'd trade Metcalf for Lockett straight up. But if you could like trick a guy into giving you Metcalf and Barkley for Lockett and like some garbage on your bench or something, that's a real scenario that could actually happen. So make it happen, or don't, and watch your wide receiver production go down the tube. One more I'm selling, and you need to get a premium price if you're doing it, and that's Mike Williams. The dude's been on fire, and yeah, he's going to be great this season. But I think his value is peaking right now. Like if you could trade Mike Williams for Metcalf or Ridley, I would do that. And I don't even think you'd get much of a fight. Williams will be great, but I don't think he's going to keep up the studliness that he's been showing so far this season. So sell him now, get some premium players, and you'll be raking in the benefits. And you could sell Hollywood Brown, but I think I'd wait a week because he's got a killer matchup against the Lions on Sunday. So start him, get those big numbers, and then sell him at a premium price next week. Moving on to the Cubies I want to buy. Give me all the Josh Allen I can get. Unless you've got a stud like Kyler, Mahomes, Brady, Lamar Jackson, someone like that. To a lesser extent Hurts. you should be trying to get Josh Allen. Tough matchup so far. But last season, we saw what happened. He had some tough matchups, didn't do so well. But in all the other matchups, he fucking killed. And that's going to happen this season. And if you don't get on it now, you're going to miss out. Right now, you can probably get him from Matthew Stafford. And if that's the case, I'd get him in a heartbeat. He's averaging 43 pass attempts per game. And against lesser defenses, he's going to hit the jackpot for you. He's got a much easier schedule the rest of the season. Well, up until the playoffs anyway. Now, he may be so high at the trade deadline. But snatch him up now from the competition before they know what's missing. That will make your team fantasy royalty. Another QB I'm looking to buy is Dak Prescott. Recency bias is a huge thing in fantasy football. The Dak owner in your league might be a little too focused on that horrific performance this past week and forget about the big numbers he put up in week 1. They're gonna forget this guy's a superstar. And I'm simply just worried because of that week 2 performance against the Chargers, who are an underrated elite defense, honestly. I'm not worried about his production, but his owner might be this week. Take advantage and buy the tips from the dipshits. As for the QB I'm looking to sell, get ready for this, folks. Here we go. Tom Brady. And cue my viewership cut in half. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully you stuck around, because I've got an explanation here. Yeah, he's been absolutely dynamite so far this season, but that was against the fantasy fiesta of Dallas and the dirt pigeons of Atlanta. He's not going to have 2 better matchups this season, I guarantee it. His age will catch up later in the season. He'll be facing tougher D's the rest of the season. This production just cannot sustain. Right now, you could probably get Josh Allen and another flex player for Brady, and I'd say do it. But do it before this weekend, because that matchup against the Rams could hurt his value. So do this trade fast. Another QB I'm selling right now is Derek Carr. He's currently a top 10 QB, but after this week's matchup against Miami, that will likely change. Miami is top 10 at defending against the pass, and I think Carr slips down this week. He's not going to have any better weeks. So what I'd say to do right now is take him and trade him for an underachieving quarterback like, say, Justin Herbert. Sure, it's a bold move, but I think it's one you need to do to get your team back on the rise. Finally, the tight end. And the tight end I want to buy the most is George Kittle. He wasn't really needed in the Niners' first game. And in the second game, they are playing against a very underrated Eagles defense. He's going to have much better weeks, folks. The Niners finally play the first home game on Sunday against the Packers. And I think this is going to be a get back on track game for Kittle and the rest of that Niners offense. So you have to get Kittle before then. Offer up Noah Fant or someone like that in a trade. And don't be shocked if it gets the job done. It could, and then you'd have a top 3 tight end the rest of the season. Especially when the Niners are starting Trey Lance. I'm sure he's going to be Lance's security blanket, just like tight ends are usually rookie quarterback security blankets. I think it's going to happen, so get ahead of it now or get left in the dust. Another tight end I'm buying this week, if I even have to, is Austin Hooper. He could be on the waivers right now. You may not even have to trade to get him. You can just go get him. But if you do have to trade to get him, you can get him for pretty much nothing. Just like toss him in on one of those QB, running back, or wide receiver deals I was talking about before. And I know he hasn't done a lot this season. The only person that Baker Mayfield is going to have to throw to on Sunday, pretty much besides Austin Hooper, is a fragile OBJ. I think Hooper sees a major uptick in targets this week. If you're scrambling for a tight end to stream, then look no further than Austin Hooper. Get him on waivers, or if he's on someone else's squad, do some piss-ass little trade for him. It's not going to take much, honestly. I bet you can get this trade done in a breeze. Buy Hooper now. So who am I selling at tight end? Once again, folks, brace yourselves. Rob Gronkowski. Hear me out. At the price you can get for him right now, you'd be a fool not to sell Gronk. His production is going to drop off. The rest of the season, there's nothing he can do to carry a value higher than what he's got right now. You could package him with a bench guy and get Kittle and maybe another RB2 or wide receiver 2 along with him. That can be done this week, but this week only. So do it now before time runs out. Another tight end I'm selling right now is old Bobby Tonyan. After this last week's performance, fantasy managers might think that he's going to go back to last year's production. I don't think so. With so many mouths to feed there and the Green Bay Packers going back to a run scheme, I just think this last week's production is nothing but fool's gold. Package them in a 2-for-1 and get someone like Kittle or Hawkinson, something like that. Better get it done this week though, or that opportunity is gonna disappear. And that's it for this week's buy and sell. There you go, freaks. Another show in the can. Get those trades going out there. Like the saying goes, if you ain't trading, you ain't trying. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you won't miss an episode. Thank you so much again for your support. If you want that one-on-one help, go check out the details down on my Patreon link. You can see it down there in the description. I hope you all get a boon on those trades. I'll see you again real soon, as I'll be back tomorrow with my ranking show. Until then, I'm out. Peace.